Have you ever found yourself pondering, do ghosts truly exist? The very mention of ghosts often stirs the imagination with visions of shadowy forms, eerie noises, or spine-chilling tales that unsettle the heart. Yet, if you pause for a moment and turn to the teachings of the Buddha, you will encounter a perspective that stands apart, not one designed to evoke fear, but to foster understanding. Allow me, a dedicated student of the Buddha's Dharma for many years, to guide you on a journey into the spiritual realm, seen through the lens of wisdom and compassion. Stay engaged, for what you are about to explore may reshape how you view life, death, and all that lies beyond our ordinary perception. What did the Buddha say about ghosts? Within the vast repository of Buddhist teachings, when the topic of ghosts arises, the Buddha does not weave mysterious tales or paint horrifying images to capture our curiosity. Instead, he directs humanity to look deeply into the essence of existence through the principles of karma, kama, and the cycle of rebirth, samsara. For the Buddha, the purpose is not to confirm or refute the existence of what we commonly call ghosts in the usual sense. His aim is to illuminate suffering, dukkha, its origins and the path to liberation from it. This is a practical and profound approach, far removed from the ghostly stories prevalent in popular culture. In the Pali scriptures, particularly within the Khuddaka Nikaya, the Buddha refers to beings known as Petas, often called hungry ghosts. This term can lead to misunderstanding if taken only literally. These Petas are not the spectral figures drifting through cemeteries or vengeful spirits of horror films. According to the Buddha's teachings, they are beings reborn into a lowly realm due to the consequences of unwholesome actions, akusala kama, from past lives' actions rooted in greed, stinginess, attachment, or a lack of compassion. As a result, they endure a state of existence filled with anguish, where basic cravings like hunger, thirst, or warmth remain perpetually unfulfilled. To grasp this, picture a person who, in a previous life, lived with boundless greed, amassing wealth without ever sharing, or refusing even the smallest aid to others. Reborn as a Peta, they might have an enormous body but a mouth as small as a needle's eye, unable to eat despite abundant food before them. This is not a punishment meted out by a higher power, but a natural outcome of the seeds they sowed. The Buddha emphasized that all beings are masters of their karma, heirs to their karma, kamasaka, kamadayata, meaning every deed, word, and thought leaves a mark, shaping our fate now and in lives to come. Moreover, the Buddha did not employ the concept of Petas to breed fear or superstition. He did not urge us to sit imagining dreadful spirits or fret over hauntings. Instead, he presented the Peta as a mirror, reflecting the outcomes of an unethical life. For example, in the Petavatthu, a collection of Peta stories within the canon, we find accounts illustrating how greed, selfishness, or anger led beings to this realm of suffering. One tale speaks of a wealthy man named Robert, miserly in life, who, after death, became a Peta with long, reaching hands unable to hold anything, a clear symbol of his pointless clinging to material things. More crucially, the Buddha did not stop at describing the Peta's state, he opened a path for us to live more wisely. He taught that understanding Petas is not about fearing death or the beyond, but about inspiring us to live with compassion, generosity, and mindfulness in this very life. Viewing Petas this way, we see them not as frightful beings, but as victims of their own actions, a reminder that our choices wield the power to shape not just our own destiny, but countless lives within the vast cycle of rebirth. Hungry ghosts, understanding brings compassion, not fear. If you envision Petas as fearsome entities to shun, let me lead you into a deeper insight from Buddhist scriptures, where understanding and compassion supplant fear. A pivotal teaching on Petas is the Tirokudda Sutta, found in the Khuddaka Nikaya. This scripture not only narrates the plight of these beings but also reveals how we can assist them, especially loved ones who have passed and may now reside in the Peta realm. It is a beautiful testament to the compassionate spirit and timeless interconnectedness extolled in Buddhism. Per the Tirokudda Sutta, Petas are often those who lived with greed, selfishness, or a lack of generosity in past lives. Upon death, they are reborn into a state of ceaseless craving, unable to fulfill even basic needs. Imagine standing amid a grand feast, yet unable to touch the food or drink a drop despite desperate thirst. Their bodies may be malformed, a throat as thin as a thread, a belly swollen like a drum, physical echoes of the greed and attachment they once nurtured. Yet, notably, the Buddha does not depict them as adversaries or dangers. Rather, he encourages us to see them with empathy, for they suffer due to their own missteps. A distinctive feature of the Tirokudda Sutta is the Buddha's instruction on aiding Petas. He explains that by performing good deeds such as giving to the needy, offering alms to monks, or living ethically, we can transfer merit to these beings. This transfer is not a superstitious rite, but a profound spiritual act, reflecting the belief that our kindness can ripple outward, soothing others' pain, even beyond the grave. For instance, the scriptures tell of a wealthy woman named Emily, stingy in life, who became a Peta after death and appeared to her family, begging for relief. Through their virtuous acts and dedication of merit, her torment lessened. This shows that our actions extend beyond the present, reaching into unseen lives. This leads us to a foundational truth in Buddhism: all things are interconnected. Petas are not strangers, they could be our grandparents, parents, or even ourselves in a future life if we do not change. Realizing this, the Buddha did not intend for us to fear Petas or the spiritual realm. Instead, he urged us to live with generosity, release attachment, and cultivate virtue. When we give without expecting reward, when we choose compassion over selfishness, we not only help those in distress but also plant seeds for our own peace. Moreover, the Peta's image vividly teaches the consequences of greed. In the Petavatthu, a story recounts a man named James, who once denied a beggar a scrap of bread. After death, he became a Peta with blazing eyes and hands, endlessly seeking food he could never find. These tales are not to scare us, but to remind us that every small daily choice, from sharing a meal to offering a kind gesture, can alter our destiny. Thus, rather than fearing Petas, let us feel compassion for them and learn to live so as not to share their fate. In sum, Petas in Buddhism are not emblems of terror, but cautions of cause and effect and calls to compassion. When we see their suffering as self-inflicted, we stop fearing and start acting to create a better world for the living and the departed. This is a timeless message from the Buddha to all, wherever you may be on this planet. The mind and the spirit world, the power lies within you. In Buddhism, nothing is more enigmatic or potent than our own mind. When someone recounts seeing a ghost or sensing a spirit, the Buddha might not first ask, "Is it true?" but, "What was your mind's state then?" He taught, the mind precedes all phenomena, the mind is supreme, the mind creates all, mano pabagam dhamma, mano se mano maya. This means our perception of the world, physical or spiritual, hinges on our mind. This profound view not only explains supernatural encounters but equips us to understand and govern our lives. Reflect on this: why do some adamantly believe they've met ghosts, while others never do? Buddhism posits this isn't solely because ghosts appear, but because each mind is a mirror, magnifying what one believes, fears, or expects. In deep meditation, especially in practices like Vipassana or the 4 foundations of mindfulness, one may enter an expanded awareness where strange sensations or visions emerge. Some might interpret these as meeting spirits or seeing Petas. Yet the Buddha did not hastily deem them proof of a spirit realm. He advised closer scrutiny. They may be mind-made projections of hidden memories, emotions, or fears. For example, Buddhist history records many meditation masters encountering Petas during practice. Unlike horror stories, these encounters are often serene and empathetic. A monk might see a dim figure of a gaunt being with hollow eyes, pleading for help. Rather than fear, the monk sees this as a chance to practice compassion, perhaps transferring merit or reflecting on impermanence. This reveals that even extraordinary experiences don't spur Buddhism to chase curiosity or dread, but to foster mindfulness and wisdom. Modern science sheds intriguing light here. Neuroscience shows meditation alters brain activity. In deep practice, the prefrontal cortex tied to perception and consciousness activates more, while the amygdala, which drives fear, calms. This can yield unusual states where one feels linked to something vast or sees inexplicable images. Some label this the spirit world, but Buddhism sees it as the mind's power to shape reality. The Buddha urged that instead of debating these experiences' truth, we purify our minds, the root of all suffering and bliss. Further, the Buddha discouraged fixation on the supernatural. In the Tirokudda Sutta, Nikaya, a layman named Kevin asked about psychic powers and miracles. The Buddha replied that while such abilities may exist, they're not the spiritual path's aim. He cautioned that pursuing them risks attachment and distraction from liberation. This resonates today, when many are drawn to mystical tales or ghost hunting media. Buddhism calls us to turn inward, mastering our minds the true route to freedom. Thus, if you've thought ghosts are external, look within. The spirit world, if real, isn't a far-off place to fear or probe, but a reflection of our inner state. Living with greed, anger, or delusion, we conjure ghosts in our minds. Nurturing compassion, detachment, and wisdom, we find peace in all realms seen or unseen. This is the Buddha's message to the world. Power lies not in believing or denying ghosts, but in how you train your mind. Death is not an end, but a transition. Death, a subject humanity has wrestled with across the globe for millennia, is viewed by the Buddha not as an end, but as a transition in consciousness's ceaseless flow. In Buddhism, there's no eternal soul moving between lives, but a stream of consciousness, via sota, ever shifting, guided by karma, kama. Grasping this reduces death's terror and inspires us to live more meaningfully now. The Maranasati Sutta, a discourse on mindfulness of death, is a vital teaching here. The Buddha taught that none rich or poor, young or old escape death. Yet, rather than let impermanence paralyze us, he urged reflection to value life. Imagine having just one day left. What would you do? Spend it in anger, disputes, or hoarding? Or choose love, forgiveness, and simple joys? Contemplating death isn't to gloom our days, but to awaken us, treasuring each breath. Per the Abhidhamma, a Buddhist psychological analysis, the moment of passing crucially shapes the next life. Our mind at death, greedy, hateful, or peaceful, steers consciousness's vessel to its new shore. Departing with attachment to wealth, fame, or ties may lead to a lower realm like the Petas, where lack and craving persist. A mind of compassion, wisdom, and release may guide us to a nobler life, perhaps among the Deva, heavenly beings. This isn't remote theory, but a daily call. Consider, if you chase material gain all your life, dying gripped by loss, what follows? The Buddha taught that craving, thirst for existence or possession binds us to rebirth cycle. A craving-filled mind at death is like a leaf in a storm, falling into self-made suffering. One who lives letting go, knowing all is fleeting, departs gently, like a leaf on calm water. the Peta starkly shows attachment's cost. A Petavatthu story tells of a wealthy woman named Laura, stingy in life, who became a Peta, her hands grasping at possessions that vanished like sand. This isn't a threat, but a question: what do we hold, and is it worth our peace? Crucially, the Buddha taught consciousness isn't fixed, but a dynamic energy flow. When this body fades, the stream continues, bearing karma's traces. Science may not yet fully explain post-death, but Buddhism seeks no external proof. It offers a path: live purely, ensuring the stream finds a serene haven. This speaks to all, east to west. Death isn't to fear, but a chance to live fully today. Freedom from fear, the path to liberation. In Buddhist teachings, fear of ghosts, death, or the unknown isn't imposed externally, but born of an unawakened mind. The Buddha taught fear stems from ignorance, avijja, not knowing reality's truth, and attachment, upadana, to the impermanent. Failing to see all changes, that nothing endures to cling to, we trap ourselves in anxiety's spiral. The Buddhist path isn't fleeing fear or proving mysteries like ghosts, but facing our minds for true freedom. Mindfulness, sati, is the key the Buddha gave to conquer fear. He taught that practicing mindfulness fully present, observing thoughts, emotions, and sensations without judgment reveals fear as no solid thing, but a passing mind wave. Imagine hearing a strange noise at night, thinking ghosts, your heart pounds, hands shake. Pause, breathe deeply, watch that fear, and see it's not real, just a reaction to a thought. The Buddha said, mindfulness is the path to the deathless, satipatthana magga amitassa, meaning wakefulness overcomes death's fear and all heart's bounds. This isn't mere theory, proven through time and modern science. Neuroscience shows meditation, core to Buddhism, lowers amygdala activity, the brain's fear and anxiety hub. Meditating on breath or impermanence, your brain shifts, less reactive to negatives. Fear of ghosts, darkness, or death isn't fixed, it transforms with practice. This is a mighty message worldwide: you're not fear's captive, but its master. Moreover, the Buddha taught overcoming fear needs ethics, sila, and compassion, karu. Living honestly, harming none, free of deceit or greed, builds a steady mind unplagued by guilt or karmic worry. Consider, lying or hurting someone, fear of discovery might haunt you, even swelling into ghost or karma phantasms. Living kindly, helping without reward, lightens your heart, leaving no fear's foothold. Thus, Buddhism turns fear into a spur for noble living, not a prison. Ultimately, Buddhism's freedom from fear isn't sought outside from gods, charms, or powers, but by lighting wisdom's inner lamp. The Buddha said, "I am my own refuge, atta hayatano natho," affirming each one's strength to pierce heart's darkness. Wherever you are, whatever your culture or creed, this applies: let not fear lead, but mindfulness and compassion guide. Then, ghosts if they be are mere shadows, powerless against the peace you've forged within. Ghosts in Buddhism aren't figures to dread, but reminders of cause and effect and the mind's strength. Live unashamed, for today's deeds shape tomorrow, this life or next. Ready to rethink the spiritual realm? Share your thoughts, I'd love to hear them.